everybody. It is BJ the Blogger here, and I am back again with another YouTube video slash podcast. If you are a new listener or a new viewer, then hello. My name is BJ, and I talk about all things that have to do with becoming your higher self, life improvement, spiritual alignment in general. So if you're on YouTube, please do not forget to like, comment, subscribe. And if you are listening via podcast, then please make sure to leave my podcast a positive rating if possible and a subscribe so you don't miss any of my episodes. All right, you guys. So I'm really excited about doing this podcast slash YouTube. This is called Organize Your Mind, Organize Your Life. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. But ultimately, what we're going to be talking about is how having too much chaos in your life can cause you to not be able to make much progress, cause you to be stuck, and be not very sure about what direction that you want to take inside of your life. So this was inspired by a YouTube live that my spiritual advisor, S.I. Lee Myers, you can find him on YouTube, that he did where he talked about chaos and how there's so much chaos going on in the world today. It is keeping people from being able to make their own decisions. So I did take inspiration from his YouTube live because it really made me think about, like, yes, there is a lot of chaos going on in the world, but what does it look like when you have a whole lot of chaos going on in your life? So we're going to talk about that today and how to really improve your life when you feel very like overwhelmed and there's things that feel very chaotic. So I'm going to share my screen. All right, you guys. So organize your mind, organize your life. So what does it mean to have chaos in your life? So dictionary.com describes chaos as a state of utter confusion or disaster, and it describes it as a total lack of organization or order. So what does that look like for you? That may look like it manifests itself in different ways for different people. I know for me, when I know my life is really chaotic and my mind is really chaotic, then my apartment looks a total wreck. My apartment is not clean at all. My mental chaos tends to manifest itself as clutter inside of my living space, and I know a lot of other people can relate to that. But for some other people, that chaos in their life can manifest itself as a lack of mental clarity, not being able to think clearly, being very exhausted, just getting really frustrated because they don't know what decisions to make, things like that. So having too much chaos in your life can have an impact on a few things. One, it can have an impact on your ability to make decisions. Like I talked about what S. Ali said, and I 1,000% agree with him, is that when you have too much information and too much going on, and this is the analogy he made. So the analogy is that, like, let's say that you go to a restaurant and you go to a restaurant that is like a mom and pop restaurant and they have like 50 things on the menu. Let's say you go there versus if you go to a place like In and Out that has, I think it has like 3 things on the menu. Which place do you think it would take you longer in order to decide what you're going to order? Obviously, In and Out, it's going to take, you'll probably be inside of the drive-through for like 2-3 minutes deciding what you want to order, versus if you were at the restaurant that had what, like 50 items on the menu, it's going to take you so much longer to make a choice. So when you have too much chaos, and chaos inside of this situation meaning way too much information, it halts your ability to be able to make decisions. So it's the same exact way when you have way too much stuff going on inside of your life. Chaos in your life can also have an impact on your ability to think clearly and process information. I don't know if you've ever been inside of one of these situations, but I know in my first job that I got when I first moved to Dallas, I was not very I didn't have a whole lot of baseline knowledge of the business that I was working in because I was brand new to the company. And so when we would be inside of meetings and people would be talking and just like throwing a bunch of jargon at me, it was hard for me to keep up with what anybody was talking about, just because, for me, for other people, it felt like they could sort through the information quickly because they already knew what was going on. But for me, it took a little bit longer for me to process the information because it was a lot for me. And that could be the same way when you have too much chaos in your life, that it could be hard for you to just process what is going on and for you to be able to think clearly about, like, okay, what is happening here? How is this going to impact me later on? And the last thing is, having too much chaos in your life can have an impact on your ability to tell the difference between what is important and what can be removed. So, like, let's say you have a garage and your garage has just accumulated years and years of items. It's going to take you a little bit more time for you to sort through those things and be like, okay, this is what's important versus this is something that could probably be tossed. You're not going to go inside of your garage and just throw everything away. You're going to want to keep the things that you feel like you need. So when you have too much chaos in your life, it could have an impact on you, if for you to be able to tell the difference between what is important and what isn't important. All right, so we're going to talk about some ways that you can filter through the chaos in your life. And this could be applied really to anything, whether it's like, let's say you have a relationship that feels chaotic, or even if you have a closet in your house that feels chaotic, or your job feels chaotic, whatever it is, this really could be applied to anything, because ultimately what we're going to decide is what is important versus what isn't important. And then after you make those decisions, then you can really decide what you want to do from there. So what you're going to do is you're going to ask yourself a few questions. The first question is, what areas of my life feel chaotic right now? What feels like completely overwhelming, that's hard for me to make decisions, that is over almost something that I don't even want to deal with. So what is an area of my life that feels chaotic? The next is, what am I having trouble making progress or a decision on? And then the next is, what am I avoiding dealing with directly because it causes me to feel overwhelmed or anxious? These are the things that we really need to be dealing with directly. And also, I want to make sure that you guys understand that this is not something that's easy. So before you decide that you want to handle whatever it is inside of your life that feels super overwhelming and super chaotic, then make sure that you have the energy for it, that you are nice and well rested and prepared to deal with that thing, because this is a very exhausting and can become an overwhelming process, but it is something that is necessary in order for you to be able to make real progress in your life. All right, so ultimately, the point is to make things as simple as possible. So understand, we tend to complicate our lives with who should be there, where we're going in the future, and how we're going to get there. We can complicate our lives a ton, trying to overanalyze and trying to gain control over every single aspect of our life. And when we do that, sometimes we forget to just get to the basics of, what is it that I want? You know what I mean? What is the intention here? And what happens is, we'll buy new programs, we'll pick up books that we're not going to read, we fill our phones with screenshots, but we still end up going nowhere. We provide ourselves a bunch of resources and all of these different things to motivate us and push us inside of the direction that we want, but still end up going nowhere. And that is because chaos causes confusion, and confusion keeps us from making progress. That's why ultimately what we need to do is make the situation as simple as possible. We have to get down to the basics. So what you're going to do is, ultimately, this is a very basic way of defining it, but what you're going to do is you're going to set your intention and cut out anything that is unnecessary, anything that is not in alignment with whatever the intention is that you have for the thing that you're trying to redefine. Anything that is not aligned with that intention needs to be removed. And please understand that you have the power to do that. So you want to reduce, and this is for people that just really feel like overall their life is super chaotic, but you want to reduce your daily activities to the following categories. You want to make sure that you're keeping the activities that keep you alive. So obviously the activities such as using the bathroom, eating, drinking water, that is not something that you're going to want to cut out of your life. Because remember we talked the analogy I gave before. Even if your garage is chaotic, you're not going to throw the whole garage away. You're going to figure out what parts that you need to keep and the parts that need to be gotten rid of. The second part is you need to keep the activities that contribute to your higher self vision. What are the things that you're doing that you know is supporting you inside of your journey of becoming the greatest version of yourself, the journey of you becoming the version of yourself that you see in your dreams and that you know that you are in alignment of becoming. So if you know that you're somebody that wants to be a singer, then you watching videos of what is it called? Um, it's called what? Singing training or voice training, whatever it's called. You watching videos where that's teaching you how to train your voice, or you're watching videos of other people singing and you're practicing singing, you know, when you get off of work and stuff like that. That is an activity that is in alignment with who your higher self is. Or even if you just love to sing and you know that that's something that is a part of your life that when you feel like it's, when you see yourself as your higher self, even if you're not making money for it, but you know your higher self sings because it brings you so much joy, then that's not something that you're going to want to cut out of your life. You're still going to want to keep it. So I do want to make sure I don't confuse you guys. Just because something is a part of your higher self vision does not necessarily mean that it's something that you become compensated for. Capitalism is what makes us think every single thing that we enjoy, we have to get paid for. And it's not true at all. You can absolutely have things in your life that you hold close to you, that you love to do, that you do not get compensated for. Okay. Your life is not merely about transactions, just FYI. But the things in your life that contribute to who you feel like your higher self is, those are the activities that also should stay. And then lastly, activities that contribute to your mental, spiritual, and physical health practices. Those are also activities that you want to make sure are a part of your day-to-day activities. And then anything else that does not fall inside of those categories should not be entertained. So again, what you're trying to do is make your daily routines as simple as possible. I mean, of course, there's going to be times that you're going to get distracted, or there's going to be times that you're going to get back into those activities that don't align to any of these things. That's totally fine. That's not to say that there's an expectation for everybody to be perfect, because that's not being realistic. What you want to make sure that you're doing is getting back to center, and getting back to that point in your life where you're like, okay, am I spiraling a little bit out of control? And am I filling up my plate with too many things that are not helping me move forward inside of my journey of becoming my higher self? Because that's what tends to happen sometimes. Sometimes we feel like we need to be as productive as possible, and we need to be doing this project and this project and this project, that we completely fill up our plate with all of these activities that we feel like we should be doing, when in reality, these are activities that are not a part of our own personal intention. These are activities that we have felt motivated to do, or we were influenced to do, or projects that we were influenced to take on by people in our lives, by social media, by culture, society, what have you. But in reality, when you sit down and you take the time and you make a list of all of the things that you're doing every day, and you're looking at it and you're like, this is something I really don't want to do. And you realize that this is something that you did not, in your heart and in your soul, that's not something that you really wanted to do, then, you know, of course you're going to want to cut that stuff out. But sometimes it requires you to just really sit down and take a look at it and analyze those things. So this is not, I'm not telling you this with the expectation for you to be perfect. I'm telling you this with the expectation for you to really customize and cut out all of the things that you feel like are unnecessary in your journey at this moment. It's not to say that 2 years from now, 3 years from now, maybe even 10 years from now, that you don't start picking up that project again, or you don't start picking up that extra activity again. That's not to say that it won't ever happen again. It's just right now, it may be causing you to feel a little bit overwhelmed and causing your life to feel a little bit chaotic. So again, see this activity as an opportunity to customize and simplify your daily routine. So inside of the esoteric world and inside of the world of numerology, chaos is related to the number 0. And that also means unlimited and untapped potential. So I want you guys to see this activity as you unlocking the potential for you to create your day and your routine, and whatever it is that you feel like is chaotic, for you to redefine it in any manner that you want to. Chaos really is an opportunity for you to create whatever you want to manifest out of it, because chaos is not meant to last for long. So whatever comes from chaos, you can either take ownership of it and accountability of it and give it some direction, or you can allow for it to manifest in whatever way that it's going to manifest. And you really don't want that to happen. You want to be able to put your own intention on how chaos is manifested inside of your life. All right, so we are at the end of the presentation, so let's take a little bit of action. So what you're going to do is you're going to identify what does not fall in the below categories. And I forgot to put it on this slide, but remember we talked about the categories are items that keep you living, items that are in alignment with your higher self vision, and items that are a part of your mental, physical, and spiritual health practices. So anything that does not fall in those categories, identify what those are and define how those activities are helping or hurting your ability to become your higher self. And again, maybe you have to reschedule that activity for you to do it at a later date when you feel less overwhelmed, or when you finish this project and you're able to move on to another project. So just sometimes you look at it as, I used to say this at my old job, I would, anytime my boss would ask me how I felt, I would tell him I felt like I was spinning plates. I felt like I just had a bunch of plates and I'm spinning them and I'm just waiting on one of them to break. And that's the way that I used to feel at my job. I felt completely overwhelmed and I felt like I was just waiting on something to fall apart. And maybe there are people out there listening to this that feel the exact same way. And I'm just letting you guys know that sometimes it's okay for you to take one of those plates and put them on the floor and just wait and just allow for it to just sit and be like, you know what, I'm going to deal with you when I'm done with these ones. And that's totally okay. You have to give yourself the permission in order for other people to give you that permission. Okay. So, yeah, so define how those activities are helping or hurting your ability to become your higher self. And if you feel like you need to reschedule the activity to do at a later date, then give yourself permission to do that. All right, you guys. All right, so this is the time where I tell you about the resources that I have available to you. So if you would like to book a one-on-one coaching session, or if you would like to book a tarot reading, you can do that at my website, which is bjtheblogger.com. If you are interested in seeing some of my free resources, you can go on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. I have tons of information there. As well, on my website, I have some blogs there too, just in case you want to do some reading to help you on your higher self journey. And if you are somebody that is on YouTube and you would be interested in listening to these presentations via podcast, my podcast is called Soul Patterns, and that is available on all major podcast platforms. Okay. All right, you guys, I will check you next time. See you later. Bye.